things that you've done, or the things that you're about to do. Amen, amen, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we moving into roll call. Roll call. Okay.
Commissioner Washington.
Present.
Commissioner Carter.
Present.
Commissioner Council. Commissioner Hopkins. Present. Chairman. Present. Chairman, do you have a form? In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the Newark Housing Authority opens every public meeting for comments of the public. Each person choosing to speak at the meetings will be limited to 5 minutes to speak on any subject on or off the agenda. All speakers must state their name and address for the record. However, in accordance with NJSA 10.4 through 12, nothing in the act shall construe to limit the discretion of a public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the Newark Housing Authority will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered biased intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate any individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes comments intending to harass or speak in any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. Any person who persists in speaking out of turn or interrupts the peace and order of the meeting will be escorted off the premises. First speaker this evening is Esther Ayers, Ayers.
That's the heirs. No answer.
Okay. Ms. Kim Burns.
Good evening. Kim Barnes, 147 Riverside Court. Today, I come before this Board of Commission, and I feel kind of disappointed. Executive Director asked me that yesterday. We had our little celebration. For one, what disaster plan do y'all have in place? Okay, I feel some type of way because we done had 2 explosions up there at Stephen Crane. Okay, I think that every TA president should have been called because those are our sister sites. Okay, when the first one happened, I didn't mind donating anything because that's my sister site and I should lift them up. But to have them people across the street and I was not notified when y'all got a TA office right across the street, that's uncalled. I mean, that's unacceptable for that fact that you have us across the street. Me and my staff went across the street. We could have gave out water. We could have helped with making food or whatever. And we do feel some type of way. There needs to be a disaster plan in place for stuff that happens like this, stoves, anything. The next thing on the agenda for me is that my residents have not, some of them have not received their recertification package. Okay, I know the phones were down. Y'all send this number on the website that to get in touch with them by the website and they give the phone number. And it was appalling yesterday to actually call that number and was told, what do you call me for? Where you get this number from? I had residents that had been without heat, but thanks to Mr. Spicer and Ms. Motley, they got their heat turned back on. And I mean, I suggested a long time ago that these things should be inspected before we get to this point, so that we won't have this problem. And then when I called the maintenance supervisor, he said, I'm on vacation. I will get to it on Monday. I called him on Monday. He said, I'm going. The residents called me back at 2:30. He had not gotten there. He rolled out the complex, rolled past their houses and pulled out. I called him back on Tuesday. He was like, oh, I'm going now. He did not get there until Ms. Spicer and Ms. Motley sent the email. And that's unacceptable too. I mean, we pay rent. Y'all say we're going back to the basics, then we need to go back to the basics and on humanity. Because first and foremost, my heart is for my residents. And any resident that I advocate for, it ain't about no money, it ain't about no kudos, it's about living in safe, clean environments. We had a woman that got beat up the other night. I got a call at 2:30 in the morning. I called, no police officer responded. And then you're saying that you don't have the money for 24 hours security. Things don't happen at Riverside until after 12 o'clock, because they know the time. If you're gonna have security, switch up the times, because they know the time. So after 12 o'clock, everything go haywire. Then I have to get calls 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I have to call Granger or Lima or Douglas. And we just discussed this. This is a high-risk neighborhood. Come on, we gotta get it together. And it ain't no, I mean, we going in 2025. We gotta do a much better job. Because guess what? We ain't gonna be taking it no more. Because then we're gonna just rattle and come before this board like y'all never seen it before. Because it's really getting me frustrated, because especially with this phone line being down, I couldn't do nothing for my residents. I couldn't send no email. I couldn't get no calls, no nothing. And then I'm looking like, oh, you can't do nothing? No, I can't, because I can't get in touch with them either like you can. That's it for the night.
Thank you.
Annabelle?
Good evening, everybody. Annabelle, 963 Freedom Heights Avenue. Excuse me? But somebody say something. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mr. Spicer for coming to my need and aid him and his staff. And second, I would also like to know why. Let me see how this goes. If someone comes down and advocate for a resident at you guys' meeting, there should never be any way that a commissioner would call that resident and explain to them that this is not how it works. That is unacceptable. It was not my doing, but it happened last month at the Board of Commissioners. I don't know what kind of rules and regulations y'all got, but that's not it. That's not professional at all. Because I didn't advocate whatever Ms. Brown said at the last meeting. No knowledge. She a person and I'm my own person. But now one of y'all sitting up there have the right to call me and tell me what happened at the meeting is unacceptable and tell me the rules and regulations of how this goes. I've been in housing a long time. I've been a vice president a long time. I know how it goes, but I am not responsible for anyone that comes and advocates for somebody that can't be here. So talk to your staff and let them know this is unacceptable. Because the next time I'm not gonna be so nice. First and foremost, I should have just hung up my phone because that's not professional. You guys are here to guide us and lead us. But if your own staff ain't following the rules and regulations, what you want the tenants to do? Fair all the way around the board. And y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Bell.
Maria Brown?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening.
First and foremost, can you pass this out? I have something I want to give y'all. It's a new gift. Last year, I gave y'all a packet. I'm being light. First thing, in reference to, I'm gonna piggyback off of Ms. Bennett, if we can get a better understanding as well as what she said, she has a right to speak for herself. Last month, I came to the board and I spoke on the issue about when she, transferred from one property to the other, and I thank the staff for doing it for whatever reason they had to do it. She had an issue there. That's when they didn't fix stuff, and I spoke with colleagues and showed pictures. And nobody never responded back. So actually, she's at Mr. Washington's site, but she's the president. She called her the next day, letting her know that she was a little upset because I came and spoke about what was going on at the site, work wasn't done right. It's all over. But you don't call someone and tell them that's not the proper protocol, that's not how we handle things down here. First of all, she had an opportunity to say something after I spoke, which she never said anything. Well, we work with the manager down there, that's not good, you can do that. I'm not attacking anyone, it's not personal, this is business. We're here to do business, and we should do the business together. And if she was wrong, I'll stand here, that's my sister, as you all know, and I keep saying it, I'll let her know she's wrong. Wrong is wrong, right is right. So the next thing, that's what it was. And I think it wasn't fair for Ms. Washington to talk to her like that. You're the commissioner. You're supposed to be for the tenants. Whether you think you should speak, and we come up here saying something she don't. I have been here for, I don't know, a whole year. I can tell you how many times she talked about Section 8. That's why I want to know, who was our spokesperson for Section 8? If you don't know, you got to learn this process of this agency of what programs they have for these people. We all learn. I'm still learning. But the page that I passed out to you is basically, last month, I asked about the 7 commissioners. Mr. Spicer did what he had to do, we came and said it's 7. This is from the commissioner handbook. You go to page 2, it'll tell you the appointees of the commissioners. The mayor gets to select one. Commissioner of the State Department of Community Affairs gets one. And the municipality gets to choose 5. 5 and 2 is 7. You don't have 7. All I want you to know is, don't tell her that you have 7 when you only got 5 sitting. That's all I was going to say. And I wanted to know why that was 7 on the paperwork when we only got 5. Let them know we only have 5. We need 2 more, and them 2 more need to be where they need to be. If not, let's roll with the 5 and let's do the business. And also, if you look at your New Jersey State Handbook, that's what y'all following. It tells you about the tenant commission. I asked one time before, what's everybody's time frame? Everybody got up there for the same 5 years. Because when the tenant commissioner, you look at your 964, it's in here, it tells you 964 is where we get to select who sits there. And that process is that once that person's time is up, the director has to send a form out to every tenant in the housing authority, if that seat is available, what's the criteria, and have a voting process and let them know that they have a right. So if they want to, I want to run, 10 other people want to run, you put it in selection just like we select anybody anywhere else. And that's how they go. They don't appoint our tenant commissioner. Never have. It's the law. The 964, you can go in and read it yourself, and you'll see what it says. So that's basically it. And I hope everybody enjoy their holiday. And I'll be ready for you next year. And we're going to work next year together, because he's been here a year with all the chaos that he had to come into. So maybe we can film out and do something a little bit better next year with the residents and this agency together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Tanisha Brown?
No answer?
Simi Purple? Did I pronounce your first name correct?
Yes,
Oh, thank you.
my address is on the agenda.
Do you mind giving us your address for the record?
Yes, Seeing Hartsville, 900 Stephen Crane. on Franklin Avenue. Will you proceed?
Yes.
Yes. It's gonna take me more than 5 minutes to plead my case in front of the board, because I have been in Franklin, Stephen Crane since, August the 5th, 2020, and it's been pure hell. I've been discriminated against, starting from my youth. There was an individual that moved there that stalked me for months. It took 75 complaints through other seniors. He was exposing himself. It was hell. Took 75 complaints for New York Housing to get him out of there. I don't feel safe there. I have made calls to Jay Lemma, the officer, Ms. Migrainer. And oftentimes when there's a situation where we call police, they tell you that you have to call New York Housing Police. So there's a confusion there as to who to call, because I thought I had the number to go directly there. There's drug activity right outside of my door. I'm on the south side of Franklin, Stephen Crane, which is, there's only 3 units, 101, 102, and 103. The traffic going through there, I shouldn't have to live like this. People like this in front of my door, people passing out in front of my door. There's a freestanding space in every floor. And then the individual that's stealing out of his unit allows some of these folks that are homeless to spend the night there. So the women on my floor, I'm on the 15th floor, we don't take the garbage out of like after 7 because it's always random folks. It's an open, it's like a foyer. And it's safety there is none. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, well, he's the barber and he got a sign on his door, cuts. But who gets their haircuts at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning? I was attacked by one of his customers, and I have it on video. I showed Lema, I showed management, and I need to know what is being done about that, because downstairs security, you go to them and they're like on their phone, they're taking a walk, they're taking a break, and there are people in and out, in and out. In the summer, I'm out of my unit, my box. I'll tell you guys about that later at 5:45, because that's when the sun comes up in the summertime. But it's darker in the evening. Folks dealing drugs in the open. I have videos. You tell management and you tell the security person, the answer is, as long as we don't have them on video, like within that perimeters, they can do whatever they please. I live there. That's God's house. That's my house. I'm fearful to have my nephew come and visit, or my friends, because I ended up at 900 because I was displaced, and because of my disability, I'm unable to work in the last 3 years. I've always worked. But I don't feel safe there. Traffic, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's nonstop, and forget about it. Beginning of like the first of the month. And I spoke to him. I said, please, I pleaded with him. Oh, I got you. I got you. But I tell him not to come. The last management, Ms. Robinson, was the only one in the 4 years that I've been there that took the time to listen. And now she's no longer there. So I didn't know about this meeting, so I'll be back. But we're not safe there because it's like the doors in the lobby, like, and it's always inside of my floor, the 15th floor. I have documentation, I have police report and all of that. They're dealing drugs. I'm a single person, and I'm in the studio right now that my bed is right there. He knows the layout. I can't live like this. And after like 4 years of waiting for a transfer, not until I was here last Thursday, that all of a sudden I got approved. And then it even switched me to one of the newly renovated units. They put me in the back if I shut up. But I'll be back. Thank you, God bless.
So you say you have documentation?
Of all this, and, you know, I'm living in a digital era that everything has a digital footprint. For calls that I make to downstairs, customer service notes, my notebooks, I have time and dates.
I'm talking about in reference to the security.
Yes,
So you say you're coming back?
I'll be back, yes, if you have me, because,
Bring some documentation, but I like to read some of that.
please, okay,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you.
Next, Donna Jackson.
Good morning.
Good evening.
How's everybody? Happy holidays before we start. I want us to get this thing on and rolling. And in my personal opinion, we have not. We have done some things, we're working on some stuff, but there's a lot of room for improvement. I am outraged about the fire explosions at 920 Franklin and our lack of response. I am outraged that those seniors had to make it from that ninth floor down by themselves. This is unacceptable. If we don't get an emergency plan together from NHA, if we don't get an emergency plan with NHA, OEM, God pray for them to have things in place, because we don't. Mr. Spicer, I appreciate you responding to my email. But we need to learn how to kick butt when we're supposed to, and we don't know how. That explosion at 920 Franklin was caused by PSE and G. Newark Housing Authority shouldn't have had to do anything. So Donna, in her regular fashion, I called the president. I ain't calling no community liaison, none of them people. I called straight to the president's office. Because when we placed those folks in the hospital, in the hotel, Mr. Spicer shouldn't have had to pull out a card. He shouldn't have had to make a phone call. He shouldn't have to do nothing. He should have let Miss LaRocca call over there to Elizabeth and put those people up. They should not have been put up for 2 days. That was an embarrassment and a slap in their face. I don't know who made that ridiculous decision, but it should not have been made. There was an ongoing fire at 920. The whole back of that building burned. 4 units burned. The soot was in the building. When you got black smoke, you got soot. Less than 48 hours, you forced those people back into the building, except the first and the second floor. Who made that decision? Would you have done that to your mother? Would you have done that to your aunt? Would you have done that to your father? We should not have done that. You didn't clean the building. When there's a fire, that soot is toxic. We sent those people back into that building without it being cleaned. There was no reason for that, and that is unacceptable. And if that's the way we're going to continue to do business, then people who are making those decisions, they need to leave. Because these are our most vulnerable. Our elders are not disabled. You can't send them back in there. We already got this. You can't even kick the heat on them. But now we had a fire caused by an explosion. And how come PSC, Newark Housing Authority staff didn't know to not let PSCG put 2 generators inside the daggone building? Like, how are they confident on me? How? Who's our head man at these buildings? If it's not a personal attack, but if they didn't know that, they need to go back and fight it. Bradley Court, what's the plan? We just had a murder at Bradley Court. I'm so sick of security taking so long to help these families. That young lady who we just buried today, whose funeral I'm just coming from, and I thank God you were late, Pat. The court gave me enough time to get down Broad Street, as you had to try to do, was beaten and built in 66 of Bradley Court. She was beaten to death last Sunday. The family has no justice because the North Police Department and the East Orange Police Department want to play a game because, you know, all the back buildings of Bradley Court, all of that is all drugs. No, it's not. The young man in question, grandmother lived on the 2nd floor. I'm saying I ain't scared of the little punk. He beat this girl to death. She was screaming. Nobody came. There's 3 North police cars all day long inside Bradley Court. Nobody moved. Everybody got hurt. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't understand why the tapes weren't available. I don't understand when the mother came there crying on Tuesday to find out where her daughter was. Nobody moved. The manager didn't move. They didn't go in every apartment. This cannot continue to happen, to not have an emergency plan. Nobody did anything. But guess what they did do? The uncle went into the building, kicked the door over to the vacant unit, and the girl's laying in the back bedroom dead. 4 days. He killed her on Sunday. No police went in there, he saw police went in there, and they left that baby in that vacant unit. Nobody has answers. Guess what the manager did on Friday morning? She had the audacity to call the mother and tell her that one of the custodial workers brought the girl pocketbook in the office. Well, where he got that from? Come on, this is family. I would like to know the status of the emergency repairs. I know we're working on it, but I'd like to know what the status is. I would like to know why we are not keeping our hands on top of people who we're moving into these units that should not, because the politics is still flying. I thought we was gonna get rid of it for a little while, but we still doing personal favors moving people in units, and they tearing the daggone unit up in less than 60 days, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Randy Court murder, low income unit, and the last thing, Section 8 is sending letters out to people on the list saying that they requested to be removed from the list, and that's a problem.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Jackson. Next speaker.
Shawnee Lattimore. Lattimore.
Ms. Latimer? No answer.
Ms. McElroy.
Carol?
I just want to say, I would like to tell everyone, wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and let us all stay together and work together.
Thank you, Ms. McElroy.
Amen.
Next speaker.
Lynette Miller.
Annette Miller? No answer.
Tosha Rogers.
Tashia Robert? Tashia Rogers? No answer.
Viola Thomas.
Hello,
How you doing?
hi, I'm Violet Thomas. I live at 658 North Fifth Street. And I'm here to speak about my daughter's apartment at 15 Goldsmith. It's really not an apartment where she's living at. It's a utility room with it's a utility, it's a, when you walk in the building, there's a sign on the wall that says utilities, Unit 3. My daughter lives in Unit 3. So when you look at the door of Unit 3, if there's a door, a regular apartment door on with Unit 3 written, but when you open it, you don't see no apartment. You see PSNG wires and cable wires and all of this, and my daughter had to go through that to get to a room in the back of that section. And I've been speaking about this since, I've been here 3 times for this same issue. They don't have running water all the time. The toilet is always stocked up all the time, but it's not an apartment. My daughter's door, the door to her apartment is a bedroom door with no locks. No locks, except for a regular door, like a bedroom doorknob. You just turn it and you can go in. And her landlord has been in there several times without her permission, and she has a restraining order on in there. But my thing is that it's not an apartment. It was approved by a Section 8 inspector. I don't know which one. I've been trying to find out which one, to find out why would you approve the apartment? Because when that person first approved the apartment, the toilet seat was not, the part that you lift up when the man uses it, it wasn't even on. And the ceiling was leaking, and when you walk past her bed that's on the floor, it's a studio. When you step right here, you feel the floor going, so it's not the floor, and that one spot is not stable. And that's how my daughter's living. And she has mental health problems. So that's why she's not here to speak with me today. But I want somebody to help me.
What does 15 Goldsmith Avenue have to do with us here? I'm just curious.
I thought that I can speak about that here.
Section 8?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, she does have Section 8. She's paying $14.93 to live there.
Wow.
Okay, so, can you speak with one of our representatives in the back, BJ in the back?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Philip? Yeah. Okay.
Venus Welker.
Venus Walker, not appearing. This concludes our list of speakers.
Want to take a, for the record, want to make note that Commissioner Council is present. Commissioner Council. Roll. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. Just to try to address some of the items that came up this evening, as always, I'm never be able to address everything, good amount of time. There's been no explosion in any Newark House of Three property since I've been here. I believe some people are referring to, there was a fire at 920 Franklin, there's been no explosion. Maintenance shouldn't talk to residents in any negative manner, shouldn't be disrespectful to residents. I continue to say residents are clients, residents are customers, and to see them that way and treat them as such. I purposely use a difference in language because when we say certain things, it has a meaning implicitly and explicitly. And when you have a customer, you understand the relationship. They are buying something from you, and by buying something from you, it allows your business to exist, it allows you to get paid. When you start seeing them as something that's not as customers, you start to take advantage and forget that the reason you're there is to serve them. And if there is no them, there is no you. So they are our clients, they are our customers, because without them, there is no us. So I use that term intentionally, and we'll definitely follow up with maintenance to ensure they understand that. Equally so, maintenance staff doesn't report to the TA offices. So there may be a disconnect in understanding the role of a tenant advisory board, a tenant council. They are not on the payroll of Newark Housing Authority. They're not employees of the Newark Housing Authority. They are not sanctioned to do business on behalf of the Newark Housing Authority. Their role is to listen to the residents that live there and work collaboratively with the manager there to have things addressed, to relay the concerns of the community to the Tenant Advisory Council, which speaks for all of the TAs that didn't have the voice of this building of the 500 Broad Street, the Executive Office, and the Housing Authority, to escalate matters that need to be escalated so we can intervene. But for tenant councils to reach out directly to staff to attempt to direct them to do work is inappropriate. And 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to get the work done. If you think about it any other way, if someone called you when you were off work and told you you need to do X, Y, and Z, it's your employer, you're probably going to tell them thanks, but you need to call my boss because I'm not here right now. That's just not how business is conducted, and that's not their role, right? So as someone mentioned this afternoon, we all have to be held accountable. We all have to do our part. In the event that there's a violent crime, in the event that someone sees something, as we've seen since 9/11, we see signs around that says, if you see something, say something. So in the event that there are things of that nature, you should call 911. None of the staff that we have are first responders. We have off-duty police officers that do have the ability to interdict, which means they have the ability to intercede if they see a crime happening. But the first responders are the Newark Police Department, the Department of Emergency Service, which includes your paramedics and your fire department. It is not Lee Douglas, it is not Mike Granger. That is not their role, that is not their capacity. 911 handles that. 94, as was brought up earlier regarding election of resident commissioners, the regulation says may, not shall, not must. And the custom in the state of New Jersey is that 99% of housing authorities that commit the resident commissioner is appointed. That is the standard, that is what has been done. Again, people may not quite understand the language because we start to get into the Code of Federal Regulations, it's a legal document. So a must or a shall is something that you have to do. There is no hum and han about it. There is no deciding if you're going to do it, if you're not going to do it. The regulation specifically states that, which means you must comply. A may, things of that nature gives you the latitude to decide if that is the route you're going to take. The regulation says may. It does not say must or shall. Therefore, it's not a directive of housing authorities to implement that, which is why most housing authorities across the country do not have that. That is just a difference in practices. I have concerns that the $7 million a year that we spend on security isn't yielding the desired results. Consistently, we have the public come before us and say, hey, security isn't doing what they need to do. This evening, we heard that there is security sitting at a building, which we know they're there 24 hours a day, especially at our senior buildings, but there are still incidents that are happening throughout the building. So I have concerns. I'll follow with our security companies to find out what they are doing to ensure that the buildings are safe. We have a finite amount of money, which means we do not have a blank check that we can continue to spend. We have a set dollar amount that we get, and we have to make sure those dollars are used for the intended purpose and the best purpose. And if we are spending $7 million, which is a third, 30% of the capital fund that we receive a year, and we are not yielding the result, we're not getting the result that we need for security, then we need to have a collective conversation about, is it working, and is it not working, what would work? Because we have to use that money to the best extent possible. And if people are not feeling safe, then I have concerns that money isn't being used the way it was intended to. So I will definitely have some conversations over the next couple of weeks with those security companies and come back to the security committee of the Board of Commissioners to have that conversation in January when our next meeting is, to come up with a solution to that, or at least fixes, because we have to yield results for the dollar amount that we're spending. Right? I have a complete different perspective on the fire that happened at 925. I want to applaud the staff of the Newark Housing Authority. I was alerted immediately when it happened, and I was at the mall with my son. I took my son home, and I went over to the fire myself. And I think a fire was a good place for a 3-year-old, right? But we had numerous staff who volunteered to come in to assist. The fire was not something that the Newark Housing Authority did. Transformers was in a vault, which is a secure room inside the building, which was coded in the 1960s and 70s when the building was constructed. That was code. It was safe for the last 50 years, and it's worked. Also, it was built so that if a fire happened, the fire wouldn't spread. A fire did not spread. So it was built for a purpose, and it did what it was designed to do. Now, there were 4 units immediately above that were directly affected. Those families were transferred to different units because of that. But immediately, we had everyone, because I was there for 6 hours that evening, we had everyone meet in the community room to advise them what was happening. We brought food in to give everyone food. We didn't have power, because the 2-block radius actually didn't have power. So we ensured that we had power on the hallways of 980, specifically 900, that's when the community room was open, so that people could sit in there as they kind of made their calls, digested what was going on, just had a minute to pause. We provided food for everyone. The Office of Emergency Management of the City of Newark provided buses, some buses for heating to allow people to get warm if they didn't want to be in the community room. We also had buses which the Red Cross assisted us with transporting individuals to the waterfront, where the Red Cross provided cots and things of that nature, right? It doesn't, from the housing authority's perspective, from my perspective, it didn't matter who was at fault. The Red Cross was there, which that's their mission. They are the relief for emergency situations. So they provided what they could provide at that time. It then left me to have conversations with PMD, which I did, for the next 24 hours to find out what the timeline was going to be, to find out what the next steps were going to be. In 24 hours, I was at the waterfront talking to all those families that had registered with the American Red Cross, providing them next steps, giving them detailed information every day. I was at the waterfront communicating with them. And at the point that we learned that it wasn't going to be a simple fix, we moved all those families that had registered with the Red Cross to hotels at our cost. We transported them there. We provided them $350 gift cards so that they were able to purchase food for their families, so that they were able to live as comfortably as possible in hotel rooms that had kitchenettes. So they were able to provide their families with healthy options and not just go to the local grocery store, not go to a local fast food place to get food. Working with PSNG, we were able to get power restored to the building in 4 days. Again, I met with all the families at the hotel, and we made them aware of that. We also had client services there. We also had our asset management staff, our property managers there as well. If your unit wasn't affected, ergo you had smoke in your unit because there was a fire on the first floor, and you go on the 8th floor. As I've said to people, and I wasn't trying to be facetious, wasn't trying to be silly, but there is no soot, there's no black smoke in your unit. It's gonna have to be a little smoky. Just kind of like if you cook something too long, it's gonna be a little smoky. Open the doors, open the windows, let the air ventilate, and you'll be fine. So families begin to transition back in at their own choice. We gave people the option, especially those 24 families that were directly impacted. Do you want to stay? Do you want to be transferred? And all of them said they wanted to be transferred to new units. They have the option to stay in the hotel longer, but they didn't want to do that. So we transferred them to new units. The Red Cross also gave families hundreds of dollars of assistance that were registered with the Red Cross. There were some families that in that week that walked away with $1,000 in assistance, and their rent was less than $200 to us. People were serviced as expeditiously as possible. No one can plan for fire. No one can plan for an earthquake in the northeast region of the United States of America. These are things that we don't often see. And given our housing stock, it is very challenging to come up with a singular COOP, as it's called, continuation of operations policy to address every single one of our buildings. But what we did do, like in any property, when the fire alarm went off, you have to vacate. That does not mean we're going to have staff on property at 9 or 10 o'clock at night that's going to be able to help every single person down the stairs. Matter of fact, when the fire alarm goes off, no one is supposed to re-enter the building. So yes, in those times, you have to do the best you can to leave the building. And if you can't, 911, the fire department, the paramedics will assist those that they have to come down and out. That is not the responsibility of the staff of the Newark Housing Authority. That's what first responders are for. And we appreciate everything they did that evening to ensure that there was no loss of life and to ensure that the damage was to a minimum. That could have been a lot more serious. That could have been a lot more devastating for families than it was. So I think we should first breathe a pause of sigh that nothing happened that people were not able to recover from. Right? We did have Serve Pro, because before families went back into the units, maintenance went into every single unit that we were able to get to keep. Now, we've had multiple conversations where I've stood here and said that it's the least violation for you to change your lock and not give us a key. But we did have that there, and so instead of breaking the lock, which we have the ability to do legally, I said, don't do that. But every unit that we were able to get access to, because they did not change their lock, or they gave us the key to the lock, we went in to make sure that there was no damage. And those units that were damaged, we had Serve Pro come in and service those units. We have the receipts if the board would like to see so. We had maintenance staff, at least 6 maintenance staff, started the 9th floor and worked their way down and would clean the hallway. I had more complaints that day that the hallways smelled like bleach than anything else. And now a month later, I'm being told that the hallways were dirty and filthy. I'm just trying to figure out which story is accurate, right? But I understand you have a number of families that were living there. They're all going to have their own personal feelings. They're all going to see things differently. They're all going to live a different experience. But what I heard from people that day was, why the hall smell like bleach? I can't go into the hall because it's making me sick. Which means it was cleaning done, right? We do our best in every situation, especially since I have been here, to ensure that we are being responsible. We have been told by the Newark Police Department that there was one death at Bradley Court who was a non-resident of Newark Housing Authority, and that death was related to a drug overdose. That does not mitigate the loss of life. That does not mitigate what the family is feeling. But from our perspective, as the landlord to the property, we cannot control every single thing that goes on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's why we have the police there. That's why we have security there. And when there is a loss of life, I understand that families are grieving, families are looking for answers. And when that comes to our attention, which it has, we go back to the law enforcement and ask for copies of the report. And the reports say it was a drug overdose, which is not something that, again, we have responsibility of. We are landlords, we are property managers, we are not the police force, we are not a social service agency. We have once again reached out to the family, as was articulated. If the message to the family wasn't the best, if it was bad timing, I would definitely have a conversation with staff. But again, some of these things are not things you typically train your property managers on. You don't typically train property managers on grief. How do you interact with families that are going through grief? How do you interact with families that are going through trauma? Just like with teachers, it is not common to educate them on these things. Now, we live in a post-Columbine world where now we have to talk about those things. What happened when a person with a gun decides to come into the elementary school? That's not something I dealt with when I was growing up. I'm sure it's not something that most of you all dealt with when growing up. We were still getting under the desk when we were told there was going to be a bomb, right? When Russia was going to attack, we were told to get under the desk, go into the hallways. 30 years later, we know that wasn't going to help none of us, right? But that's what we were told. So we are living in a different world, which means we have to respond. So I will definitely work with human resources to try to identify resources in 2025 to give the staff the tools to address that. Last year and a year before, we had a staffer that unfortunately passed away while on duty. And as a result of that, we instituted CPR training and ensured we had defibrillators for all our properties. It was not something we had experienced. It's not the agency norm in our industry, so we didn't have those things readily available. And even in the sites we did, everyone wasn't comfortable to use them. So we went back after that to ensure that something of that nature doesn't happen again. And that is the best we can do. Is it going to be 100%? Is it going to be what everyone wants? It is not. But we can only do what we know. And we have, unfortunately, I'm not trying to always bring it back to that, but unfortunately, we have limited dollars. So we have to use those dollars for their intended purpose, which is to house families. Right. I completely understand if there are units that would not meet code to be identified as a dwelling that would pass HQS housing quality standards to be issued a Section 8 voucher. As Quadale has already done, since that individual left this podium, they're having conversations with her. We'll definitely look into that to find out why the unit was passed, if the unit meets code, if the unit's even considered a legal unit. And if it is not, the person will be issued a voucher to relocate. Again, on the Section 8, the HCV side, housing choice voucher, people are given a choice. These are individuals that say, hey, I just need a little help to be on the market. I need a little help with rent. I have everything under control. I just need a little bit extra and I'll be good. So we provide them a voucher that allows them to go into the market, the neighborhood, the street, the city, to live next to you. You don't necessarily know they have a voucher. The intent is for you not to know. But they're just people like you that just need a little extra help. But in doing so, they accept the unit. We don't steer them. We don't tell them you have to sign, you have to go. They go look for themselves. They sign documents that say, I want to live here. I am requesting that the housing authority come to this address to look at this particular residence because I desire to live here. So we don't start our process till you tell me that this is the place that you want to live. If something has gone wrong after that process has started, you can always reach out and cancel it. But nevertheless, if the unit doesn't meet, if there's something wrong with the unit, we will have our HCB staff look into that. But again, with the Section 8 program, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, you have the ability to decide where you want to go. We are not placing you anywhere. You tell us where to go inspect, and we go inspect, because that's where you have the left to reside. Again, there have been a number of things that have been brought up this evening. As always, I'll try to provide answers in writing, as well as staff will provide answers in writing before the next board meeting, for your edification, for the health edification. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Greg. Executive session.
I'm going to move right into items for approval, which is I guess the first item is the November 2024 board report. If there are no questions on that, I would ask for a motion.
Motion.
There's a second. A second. Commissioner Carter,
Agree.
Commissioner Council,
Yes.
Commissioner Washington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawk,
Yes.
Chairman Logan.
Yes.
Passed and accepted. The November 2024 board transcript. If there are no questions, I will seek a motion.
Motion.
Motion has been placed on the floor. Have a second. Commissioner Carter seconds. Moving into roll call. Commissioner Carter,
Agree.
Commissioner Council,
Yes.
Commissioner Washington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawk,
Yes.
Chairman Logan.
Yes.
With that, I understand that there's a need for executive session this evening. I would have to have a motion for executive session.
Make a motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Council,
Yes.
Commissioner Washington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawk, and Chairman Logan.
Yes.
So at 6:06, we will adjourn for executive session. $7,398.24, or 3 years, whichever comes first. We have the gentleman from Matt or Marshall.
Gone?
You want to entertain the motion without him? No. The recommendation from this office is to not entertain the motion without him. It's often close decision.
We're not going to entertain it without.
Motion table.
So I would need a motion to either table or reject.
Yes, table.
A second,
Second.
unanimous consent, all in favor, aye? Aye. H
the board knows, you know, has risen dramatically since the courts reopened after COVID because the law was changed and now requires more steps for our attorneys to file and proceed with the rent collection matters. So we are trying to convince residents that have unpaid debt to take advantage of the program that's been made available to forgive the debt if they agree to pay the 10% balance and remain current on their payment obligations for 12 months. We have not received a great response or an enthusiastic response from the residents. There is still money out there available, and I know that our staff has been publicizing this, making it known to the residents.
Chair,
Good question.
You know, it's possible we could work to client services, to put some kind of models and instruction and plan together to provide resources and information to the residents. And even if it is working with different partners, programs throughout the city that can be able to, you know, render help and assistance, just to providing information about responsibility, guidance, and breakdown that we are doing our due diligence in terms of saying we're providing you with best services or information to help in areas of budgeting or finance or structure so that people can begin to understand how to move it into some of these censuses.
Yes, so I will have client services begin to research that and report back again next month on the progress of that.
Chair,
Commissioner?
okay, we had this program again for October 31st, for the deadline that they asked it was going to be, because this thing, so that it was funds left. Now, the program is not for all people, but if you was being had an eviction for the other things, and you know, other than rent, then you know the answer was no.
Correct.
We'll go over again.
Based on, we are examining budget availability, so if there's money that we can do that, then yes. But we're, again, going through the budget, and of course, we'll have that conversation next month. If there's budget availability, of course, because if we don't, then
You didn't say that it was funds left.
we are working, this is a program that we're working with the city on. So it's not necessarily just our funds,
Okay.
but are they gonna continue to give us, how long are they gonna give us credit for? Because at some point I have to give them a check. You know, this is a remuneration of the check that I would have to give them. So I can keep it open as long as they can pay their bills without my money.
Commissioners? We good? We did?
Yes, sir.
We must adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, yeah, just say aye.
Aye. 7:31.
Second.